So now that I finished recording my first video, I probably want to make a few changes to it to make it just a little more crisp and get rid of some extra things that I don't really need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click to edit. And it's important that you realize this is where this is located. After you finish recording a video, there's a little option to edit your video over here by options in the lower left. We're not going to save the video yet. We're going to edit it first and then save it. And when you go to edit it, you'll notice that down at the bottom here, there's a bunch of sound lines so you can see where I was speaking during the video, where I was quiet. And then you have this option where the playhead is. And notice I can drag the playhead so I can play through. If I press the play button or the space bar, it'll start actually playing my video. So I can play it and stop it using that. But wherever the playhead is, there's this option, there's this tools drop down. And if I click that, these are all of the options for things that I can do to my video. There's a couple of things that we're going to use. Remember, I said you're required to have a transition. Well, voila, there's the transition option. You're required to use at least one transition right between your two video clips. I'll show you some other options in a little bit. The first thing that I want to do though is I'm going to zoom in on my timeline so I can see more of where these spaces are. To do that, I'm going to hover way over here on the right. I'm going to click this little magnifying glass, and what that does is it shows me a more complete picture of the timeline. Now notice it doesn't do much here. That's because my video is actually really short. It's only 30 seconds. If my video was several minutes long, this would zoom in a lot further and help me to see where I have things that I want to keep and things that I want to cut. And one of the things that usually happens when you record is you have a little bit of dead space right at the beginning of your video. While you were watching the countdown, the time it took between the countdown and when you started talking is just dead space. So you're going to want to remove that. To remove that, you go to Tools, you go to Cut, which is the most commonly used tool. And then from wherever the playhead is, that's where it's going to start the cut. You drag this little red line to wherever you want the cut to finish. I want it to cut right before I start speaking here. Now if I want to hear what that sounds like before I actually go through with the cut, I can click preview and it plays right before and right after the cut. If I like it, I can go ahead and click OK, and it cuts that part out. If I didn't like what I said in another part of the video, like let's say I didn't like what I said between here and here, I could just go ahead and cut it out by clicking cut, dragging, previewing to listen to what it sounded like. It's going to play it right before and right after, and then click OK and it gets rid of it. That's how you cut material out of a video. Now you may be wondering how you're going to add another video clip in. There's a couple of ways to do it. I'm going to suggest the easiest way is to go to Tools, go to Insert. You can insert an existing recording that you already took. It's going to insert it right at the playhead. Okay, so right now I'm going to insert my clip right here, which is actually not a good idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the playhead to the end. I'm going to tack another video onto the end. So Tools, Insert, and I'm actually going to choose to insert a new recording, a second clip. When I click on that, notice it takes me back to this recording screen, and I can go ahead and record another clip of video. So let's say I wanted to record my next slide here. My video is now recording starting at the next slide, and I can go ahead and talk my way through this next slide of whatever I was going to say as I discuss what my presentation was about. Okay, when I'm finished with this, I'm going to do exactly what we did before. I'm going to click on the pause button down here. I'm going to say to stop. I'm done. And notice what it does. It's going to ask me, are you sure you want to insert this? Insert it right here. Please, please do not close out after you've spent time recording your second clip, which is probably a second slide of your PowerPoint presentation. Don't close out. Don't lose what you've been working on. Make sure you click OK. And when you click OK, it's going to tack on that new recording to the end. So now you know where the tools are located. You know how to add a new clip. Let's talk now about how to add a transition between clips. What you're going to do is you're going to go to Tools, you're going to choose transition, and keep in mind it's going to insert the transition wherever the playhead is. So right now it's planning on inserting the transition right here. I'm actually going to click in this blank space because you need a little space before and after your transition to make it effective. So tools, transition. It asks me how long I want my transition to last. I probably want it to last a short time, 1 second. Maybe I do want my playhead and my transition to start a little further back. I'm going to cancel it. I'm just going to start at the beginning. So we're going to add a transition. Notice that my transition is shown in this blue triangle here. And the reason it's a triangle is because during the transition, it's actually going to show both pieces of media, my first clip and my second clip, while it's moving from the one to the other. So I'm going to go ahead and make that a little shorter. There we go. And I also get to choose the type of transition up here. And when I click on type, it gives me all of these different options. Just go ahead and choose one that works well for you. You'll have to choose it by hovering over and looking at what it looks like in the little preview window. Choose one that you like. You can click to preview it so I can see that my slide is going to change that way. And then I'm going to click OK. Once I'm happy with my transition, I click OK. Now I've got one clip of media, a transition in between, a second clip of media. This fits the bill. This would satisfy the requirements for this assignment. When I'm finished with this, I'm going to click that I'm done. This means that I'm done editing. And then I'm going to choose to save my video file. You can give it a name, and you want to choose a location on your computer where you're going to be able to find it. I would just leave it as a type, as an MP4 file. And when you're finished with it, you're going to go ahead and click Publish, and it's going to save it to your computer. After you've saved your file, you're going to want to turn it in. I'm going to show you how to turn it in a very simple way by either uploading your video to YouTube or by uploading it to Google Drive and sharing it with me. YouTube is the safer option because everybody has a Bethany YouTube channel if you have a Bethany email address, and you don't even have to worry about setting sharing settings if you put it on YouTube. However, if you put your video on Google Drive, you need to make sure you share it with me. And then what you're going to be handing in for this assignment, you're going to be handing in the link to your video by copying and pasting either your YouTube link or your Google Drive link to the hand in on my BLC. When I watch your video should be pretty short. I'm guessing it's going to be very short. I'm going to be looking for clip 1, transition, and I want a transition that's added not by PowerPoint. I want a transition that's been added by ScreencastOMatic or by iMovie or QuickTime or whatever program it is that you're using. And then I'm going to be looking for a clip, transition, second clip. All right, hopefully that helps you understand how you can use ScreencastOMatic to make a video recording to satisfy the requirements for this assignment.